So, Nicki Minaj wakes up every single day and somehow manages to escalate situations instead of calming them down. You'd think with everything she's got going on, she'd want a little peace, right? Wrong. After her appearance at AmFest with Erica Kirk, Nicki decided to go after Don Lemon of all people. But here's the thing, it completely backfired. And honestly, the real issue was never about Don Lemon. It was about money and the mounting pressure that's been building behind the scenes. Because when you're juggling lawsuits, public image, and a husband with serious legal baggage, eventually something's gotta give. And for Nicki, it seems like everything's starting to crack at once. Word on the street is that Nicki is under some serious financial stress right now. And when the pressure's on, she snaps at anyone over anything. Online rumors have been swirling for months, suggesting her finances are way shakier than anyone realized. We're talking about an artist who built an empire, sold millions of records, and became a global icon, yet somehow finds herself in a position where she's scrambling to keep it all together. But here's where it gets complicated. Staying loyal to her husband, Kenneth Petty, has been incredibly costly. We're not just talking about money here, we're talking about her reputation, her brand, and headline after headline that just won't stop. Every controversy, every lawsuit, every public clash seems to trace back to one common denominator, and that loyalty, it's starting to look less like love and more like a liability that's draining her resources, her energy, and her ability to focus on what actually matters. Her music, her career, her legacy. At one point, and this is wild, Nicki nearly lost her home.
This is what I'll say to Nicki Minaj. I normally don't respond to things like this, but, F it. I'm going to do it this time. I think Nicki Minaj has made it very clear how she feels about African Americans in this country, where I don't think she's one of them, obviously. And she should, under Trump's rules, she should be deported, because I don't think, reportedly, that she is a legal citizen here. She is undocumented. And so she has shown her disdain for African Americans. So why are you supporting her? Why are you buying her records? She's also supporting, I have lots of gay friends who love Nicki Minaj. Why are you supporting this homophobic, bigoted, ignorant?
Her actual house. We're talking about her stunning Hidden Hills mansion, the kind of property that represents everything she worked for, everything she achieved from those early days in Queens to global superstardom, all because of a lawsuit that was connected to Kenneth. She had to scramble and pay $500,000 just to keep the property from being sold out from under her. Let that sink in for a moment. $500,000 gone just to hold on to what was already hers. You'd think after a scare like that, she'd step back, reassess, maybe take a breather, and realize that things are spiraling out of control. But no, instead of laying low, instead of taking the warning sign for what it was, she kept creating drama online, adding fuel to a fire that was already burning out of control. It's like watching someone stand in a burning house and argue about the color of the curtains while the walls are collapsing around them. DL Hughley didn't hold back when he weighed in on all this. He pointed out that Nicki has way bigger problems than arguing with people on the internet. And he's right. When you're fighting to keep your house, dealing with lawsuits, and watching your financial stability crumble, Twitter beef should be the last thing on your mind. Her fans are genuinely concerned that her situation with Kenneth is draining her energy, her focus, and her peace of mind. They see what's happening, and they're worried. Her loyalty to him is costing her more than just money at this point. It's costing her stability, her reputation, and potentially her career trajectory. And when you're at the top of the game, like Nicki, stability is everything. One wrong move, one bad financial decision, one more public meltdown, and everything you built can start to crumble. DL's message was clear. She needs to wake up and prioritize what really matters before it's too late. Because right now, it looks like she's defending someone at the expense of everything she worked her entire life to build.
Nicki Minaj's brother and his attorneys thought he would be walking out of court a free man today. Jelani Mirage was convicted last November of repeatedly raping an 11.
Now, her fans tried to spin paying off the house as some kind of victory. Like, yes, queen, you saved your mansion. The Barbs were out in full force, celebrating like she just won a Grammy or dropped a platinum album. And because of that fallout, Nicki's entire empire, the things she built from the ground up through talent, hustle, and relentless determination, feels like it's teetering on the edge. She's not moving forward. She's playing defense, constantly putting out fires and covering for someone else's mistakes. That's not a victory. That's a crisis management strategy that's running out of steam. Let's rewind to 2019. Nicki's on tour in Germany, riding high, performing for thousands thousands of fans, living the life that most artists only dream about. And there's a confrontation with a female security guard backstage. We don't know all the details of what sparked it, but tensions ran high and things got heated fast. A male security guard named Thomas Widener steps in to intervene, trying to de-escalate the situation like any professional would. But Kenneth allegedly took it to another level and injured the guy. What could have been handled with words and professionalism turned physical. What started as a backstage scuffle, the kind of thing that happens on tours and usually gets resolved quietly, turned into a full-blown lawsuit against both Nicki and Kenneth. And the financial and legal consequences? They've been following her ever since, like a shadow she can't shake. This wasn't just a one-time payment or a simple settlement. This became a years-long legal nightmare that eventually threatened the roof over her head. Here's where it goes from bad to worse. Instead of staying in Germany and dealing with the lawsuit head-on, instead of facing the music and working through the legal system, Nicki and Kenneth just left. They bounced. They packed up and flew out, leaving the whole mess behind. Or so they thought. That means they lost by default because they didn't even bother to defend themselves in court. The security guard wasn't about to let it go. Why would he? He was injured, he filed a legitimate lawsuit, and he won. Imagine that. Years of success, millions in earnings, and it all comes down to losing your home because your husband couldn't control himself in Germany. But at the very last minute, with the legal hammer about to fall, Nicki came up with that $500,000 payment and stopped it from happening. Crisis averted. Barely. So with all of that chaos swirling around her house, her finances, her legal drama, the stress of trying to hold everything together, where does Nicki redirect her anger? At Don Lemon, over a protest live stream.
Yesterday, US Weekly broke the news that Nicki Minaj's house is at risk of being seized due to a lawsuit.
Under Trump's rules, she should be deported because I don't think, reportedly, that she is a legal citizen here. She is undocumented.
Think about that for a second. Your house was almost taken from you. You just paid $500,000 to keep it, and you decide to pick a fight with a journalist. Don was reporting on a demonstration at a church in St. Paul related to ICE enforcement and immigration policy. That's it. He was doing his job as a journalist, covering a newsworthy event that people cared about. But Nicki assumed the absolute worst, jumped to conclusions without getting the facts, and went off on him online with some seriously heated language. She accused him of things he wasn't doing, questioned his motives, and turned what should have been a non-issue into a full-blown public feud. It was a textbook case of displaced anger. When the real problems feel too big to tackle, you lash out at something smaller and more manageable, even if it makes no sense. Don Lemon had to come out and clarify that he was reporting on the protest, not participating in it. He broke down exactly what he was doing, why he was there, and what his role as a journalist entailed. The internet went wild. Twitter was on fire. Instagram was flooded. TikTok creators were making videos breaking down every angle. It became one of those moments where everyone had an opinion and nobody was backing down. So when people started pulling up those old clips and quotes, when the video started circulating showing Nicki talking about being undocumented, it highlighted a pretty glaring contradiction between her past.
So you can see the protesters here have gathered over here. They're in the middle of the church. So in the beginning of the church service, the pastor was speaking, and Nikema stood up and said her piece, and then the protesters surrounded her. But this is a clandestine mission. I think they found out according to them, this is according to Operation Pull-Up, that one of the pastors here is a member of ICE. And so here we go.
And her current political alignment. The receipts were everywhere. YouTube compilations, Twitter threads with timestamps, Instagram posts with direct quotes. There was no denying it, no spinning it, no explaining it away. Her own history was being used as evidence against the position she seemed to be taking now. And that brings us to now. Nicki's been showing support for MAGA circles, and Donald Trump appearing at events, making statements, aligning herself with political figures and movements that seem completely at odds with her own immigrant story. It's left a lot of people scratching their heads and asking questions. Is she financially desperate and looking for new allies who might help her weather this storm? Is this a strategic move to stay relevant in a shifting cultural landscape where controversy equals attention and attention equals relevance? Is she genuinely changing her political views? Or is this just another chapter in a pattern of impulsive decisions made under extreme stress? Or is something else going on that we don't see behind the scenes? Pressure we don't know about, conversations we're not privy to, motivations that go deeper than what's visible on social media? DL Hughley made another sharp sharp observation that cut right to the heart of the matter. Nicki has a pattern of consistently defending people with serious legal issues, of standing by problematic figures, even when it costs her personally and professionally. At what point do you look in the mirror and realize that defending someone else is costing you your own life? Only Nicki knows the answer to that. But what we do know is this: the world is watching, her fans are worried, her critics are circling, and the clock is ticking on how long she can keep juggling all these fires before one of them finally burns everything down. The question isn't whether Nicki Minaj is talented. We all know she is. The question is whether she'll wake up in time to save herself, or whether loyalty, pride, and pressure will write the final chapter of her story.